Before the United States' entry into World War II, Naval Air Station Pensacola was the only naval air training station with training squadrons based at Chevalier Field, New Corey Field, and Pensacola Municipal Airport, which was then under lease by the U.S. Navy. Their combined capacity was barely adequate to meet growing training requirements, and when the 1939 training plan called for a 50% increase in pilot production, the need for additional local training air stations became apparent. The attack at Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941, and subsequent declaration of war on Japan and Germany transformed Pensacola into the largest aviation training complex in the world. To support combat operations around the world, the U.S. Navy established a training requirement of over 1,000 Navy, Marine Corps, and Coast Guard pilots a month. To accommodate this almost unbelievable pilot training requirement, Naval Air Station Pensacola was reorganized into a Naval Air Training Center with all major training fields designated as Naval Auxiliary Air Stations. By war's end, 5 Naval Auxiliary Air Stations, Barron Field, Bronson Field, Sofley Field, Ellison Field, and Whiting Field, had been built, and this did not include the dozens of associated outlying landing fields. In 1943 to 1944 alone, these stations flew over 2 million flight hours and graduated over 12,000 naval aviators. Welcome to Sofley Field, the first new Naval Air Station built in preparation for the United States entry into World War II. Originally, the Navy purchased a small plot of land in 1939 to serve as an outlying landing field for Corey and Chevalier Fields. The first new air station built at Pensacola area to accommodate expanded flight training during World War II was named Sofley Field in honor of Naval Aviator No. 14, Richard Sofley. Sofley earned his wings at Pensacola in 1915 and was killed at Pensacola in a hydro-airplane crash during a record altitude attempt in 1916. The site was originally purchased by the Navy in 1939 as an outlying landing field for Chevalier and Corey Fields before it was commissioned in its own right as a Naval Auxiliary Air Station. It had 4 paved runways and it remained open as a naval air station until 1976. It currently serves as an outlying landing field for flight students from Whiting Field. Welcome to Ellison Field, the second Naval Air Station built to accommodate flight training during World War II. The Navy originally purchased the property in 1940 as an outlying field for Chevalier and Corey Fields. However, as the war intensified, they made the decision to expand it into a full Naval Air Station. The second air station built was named in honor of Naval Aviator No. 1, Theodore Ellison. He was designated a naval aviator after training with Glenn Curtis and unfortunately was killed in an airplane crash in 1928. The Navy originally purchased the site in 1940 as an outlying landing field for Chevalier and Corey Fields. As the war intensified, it was decided to expand it into a full Naval Auxiliary Air Station. It had 8 paved runways, 3 hangars, and various administrative and operation buildings. Disestablished after the war, it was reopened in the 1950s to conduct Navy helicopter training. It was permanently closed in 1973. Welcome to Bronson Field. This is the third Naval Auxiliary Air Station built by the U.S. Navy during World War II. The site selected was the shores of Perdido Bay, about 10 miles west of Pensacola. It included the seaplane ramps that I'm on right now, as well as landing fields a little bit inland. The third air station constructed during World War II was named in honor of Naval Aviator No. 15, Clarence Bronson. He earned his wings at Pensacola in 1915 and was killed by a premature bomb explosion in 1916. The field was officially dedicated in November 1942. The site chosen for this air station was the shoreline on Perdido Bay, approximately 10 miles west of Pensacola. It included both a landing field and seaplane ramps. The landing field complex consisted of a large circular mat crisscrossed by 4 runways, along with taxiways, ramps, and 2 hangars, from which more than 300 SNJs flew. The seaplane facility consisted of 2 hangars and 5 seaplane ramps, which led down to Perdido Bay, from which 40 PBY Catalina flying boats flew.
Welcome to Barron Field, the 4th Naval Auxiliary Air Station built by the U.S. Navy during World War II. The site selected was Foley, Alabama, which is about 25 miles west of Pensacola, to avoid the congestion caused by the air traffic flying out of the other naval air stations in the Pensacola complex.
The 4th air station built during World War II was named in honor of Naval Aviator No. 56, Lewis Barron. He earned his wings at Pensacola in 1917 and served as an experimental test pilot. He was also awarded a Navy Cross as a member of the seaplane NC-1 crew in its transoceanic flight attempt. He was killed in an aircraft accident in 1920. The site chosen for this air station was Foley, Alabama. It was approximately 25 miles west of Pensacola in order to provide separation from the congestion of other air stations that were positioned very close to one another. The Barron Field complex consisted of 2 fields, east and west, each with 4 runways, a common ramp area, 4 hangars, and various base support facilities. The principal trainer used here was also the SNJ, and it suffered the highest fatality rate of any air station, earning the nickname Bloody Barron. West Field was returned to the city of Foley, and East Field today serves as an outlying landing field for practice by student naval aviators.
Nice landing. Welcome to Whiting Field, the 5th and final air station built during World War II. It is located about 35 miles northeast of Pensacola in Milton, Florida. Construction began here in 1943 and was completed in 1944.
The 5th and final air station built during World War II was Whiting Field, located about 35 miles northeast of Pensacola. The field was named in honor of Naval Aviator No. 16, Kenneth Whiting, who reported to the Wright Company in 1914 for flight training with Orville Wright. He was designated a naval aviator in 1915. Construction began in early 1943 and was completed in July 1943. The Whiting Field complex consisted of 2 separate fields, north and south, and today it hosts both fixed-wing and helicopter training. During World War II, the U.S. Navy also invested more than $1 million into Pensacola Municipal Airport, which included the building of a 4th runway with parallel taxiways. After the airport was returned to city control at the war's end, 2 runways were closed, and it now operates in a 2-runway configuration, although the closed runways are still visible. After the end of World War II, the fortunes of these naval auxiliary air stations and outlying landing fields ebbed and flowed with the budget cutbacks of peacetime operations, increased pilot training requirements in support of combat operations in Korea and Vietnam, and measures taken to deal with the congested airspace in the Pensacola complex. Some fields were closed, others placed into caretaker status, and a fortunate few expanded to accommodate the new, faster aircraft of the jet age. The world's first operational jet fighter was the German Messerschmitt Me-262, which first flew in combat in 1944. During World War II, the U.S. Navy embarked on its own jet development program, and by 1946 had built the FH-1 Phantom, which was delivered to fleet squadrons in 1947. With no spare jets of their own available for student pilot training, the U.S. Navy turned to the Air Force for assistance. 50 single-seat former shooting stars were procured to use as interim training until more Navy jets were available. These former Air Force jets were transferred to Naval Air Station Whiting Field in early August 1949. A new jet training squadron was formed there that commenced operations in September 1949. Both Chevalier Field and Corey Field, however, were too small to accommodate the Navy's new jets. In 1950, it was announced that a new airfield would be built aboard Naval Air Station Pensacola on the site of old Fort Barrancas, west of the air station. The new jet field was dedicated in 1951. It was named Sherman Field in honor of the late Chief of Naval Operations, Admiral Forrest Sherman, who earned his Wings of Gold at Pensacola in 1922. In 1955, the first jet training squadron was assigned to Sherman Field. Also in 1955, the Blue Angels shifted their home port from Naval Air Station Corpus Christi, Texas, to Naval Air Station Pensacola. In the same air where fragile bamboo hydro airplanes barely capable of flight once flew, jets now roared easily overhead.